Welcome to Torreon, Mexico, a makeshift home for CF Monterrey. This is the second leg of the Concacaf Champions Cup round of 16. And look who's strutting off that bus. Ooh. Look at those shades. The icon, Sergio Ramos. His Concacaf Champions Cup debut comes tonight in a pivotal tie against the Vancouver Whitecaps. Brian White leading the team out, but starts on the bench tonight for Jesper Sorensen's side. It's 1-1 in aggregate. This is the second leg, and this is the Concacaf Champions Cup right here on One Soccer. Gareth Wheeler, Jordan Wilson with you. The teams are playing in Torreon, Mexico tonight, which is about a 4-hour drive west of Monterey. They're playing in Santos Laguna home stadium. That's because Shakira has a concert that's going on in Monterey tonight. Your favorite Shakira song?
It probably would be Hips Don't Lie, but I looked it up. And I want you to listen to it after. La Bicicleta.
La Bicicleta.
It's a nice one.
It's a long bicycle ride to Torreon. I'd say it'd be fitting if it was whatever, wherever.
That's your favorite, no?
Because they're playing whenever, wherever tonight. Follow me.
I'm with you.
By the way, Whitecaps fans are saying, see, we're not the only ones that are forced out of our own stadium for pivotal matchups. Here is the current bracket in the Concacaf Champions Cup. Look at that. Cruz Azul, Tigres, LAFC have all punched their ticket to the quarterfinal. Right down there in the bottom left, Monterey, Vancouver, we're at one apiece. It's an advantageous draw as well in the quarterfinal. Pumas and Alajuelense play tomorrow night to decide that tie as well. It's a little bit of a case of what could have been for the Vancouver Whitecaps. Honestly, last week at BC Place, you couldn't ask for a much better performance, with the exception of the finish. Just one goal to show for their efforts. They conceded a goal in a controversial manner, which gives Monterey the away goal, the pivotal away goal, as that applies in this competition. 21 shots, Jordan. Vancouver simply couldn't finish their breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
And you're looking at it, Wheels, and what was the expected goals? Like, I thought it was going to be a 3 or 4.
2.04, but it seemed like a lot more.
So many chances where the half chances where they could have conformed, made it 4. Look at that one, the bike off the post. But yes, they were there that day but couldn't finish. But I think for Vancouver Whitecaps, it probably bodes well that you're feeling like you can do some damage to this Monterey side.
The confidence is there. It's not just they've been playing well, but they've been coming away with results. 3 consecutive wins to start their Major League Soccer campaign. That's the first time they've been able to do that. Problem is, the best player on the field when they played last week in this competition was Ryan Gaul.
Yeah.
He's the best player on the team. On the weekend against Montreal, left in the first half. Thankfully, it's just being called a knee sprain, as it looked a whole lot worse at the time. And the question is, how do the Whitecaps move forward without Ryan Gaul available for the foreseeable?
Yeah, thankful to Vancouver Whitecaps. I honestly just love as a football that Ryan Gaul, there won't be something that is a long-term injury. But you look at the situation, he's the energy booster for this team. He's the one where, hey, if things are getting rocky, you give him the ball and you know that he's going to create and just calm the storm. So I think for tonight, there needs to be new heroes to step up. But I don't think they could do it in the same way that he does it. With the runs, the selflessness, the sweet left foot. It's going to be by committee. And that's the only way that Vancouver Whitecaps could really stay in this tie and move to the quarterfinals. 91
goal contributions in 140 Vancouver Whitecaps games. And it's not just the production, it's the intangibles as well. He makes everyone around him better. Let's hear from the manager, Jesper Sorensen, tonight. His thoughts ahead of this fixture against Monterey.
We have to go out and play the way we would like to do, and we'll try to force the game on terms that we are best at, but we know it's going to be difficult.
How do you ensure players stay focused and calm under the pressure they're on today?
Yeah, you can never know that on beforehand. You can only talk about it, and then we're going to see what's going to happen on the pitch. Of course, emotions are always high when you play games like this, and but we have to be able to control them.
And my final question, what would you say is the biggest challenge in today's match?
Yeah, we know we're up against a very good and strong team from Monterey, but we also think that we are good at we're good ourselves. So I think the game will determine, what it's going to be. But of course the fans and everybody will be behind Monterey, so we'll have to withstand that, I think.
Jesper, the grin from ear to ear, he's starting to get more comfortable, and why not? His team performing in these early stages of the campaign. 4 changes from the 2-0 victory over Montreal on the weekend. Isaac Boehmer comes back in to play goalkeeper. It's a change of formation as well, a 5-2-3 or a 3-4-3, whichever way you want to look at it. Bilal Habouni, who scored the late equalizer last week, he's rewarded for his efforts. He's playing on the right side of the back three. Ocampo comes in, playing it down the right side, and Rios leads the line, keeping Brian White out of the starting 11. Kubas, Vite, Berhalter will all be excellent to start the season. Let's start off with the lead. If it's not going to be Gauld, it's going to be White that's going to produce for the Whitecaps. But Brian White not starting here tonight. What do you make of that decision, Jordan?
It's just legs and resting a star player who played 87 minutes but on the weekend against CF Montreal. But you're looking at someone who, down the middle of that number 9 position, that is his. But Jesper Sørensen probably doesn't want to use that ace card or the X factor too early. I don't know how you feel, Wheels, but everything about this match and Jesper Sørensen approach screams rope-a-dope to me. Screams 60 minutes, just hang in there, make sure you don't get any shots to the face, any hits that are going to put you out, and then you have a Brian White to sub in and maybe finish off the match and score a goal and get them to the next round. But he's that player down the 9 in the league. For me, looks the most threatening in the MLS, but also if you're looking at this competition in Concacaf Champions Cup, he's up there too.
If that's the way you're going to play it, you need a little bit more out of Rios. But yes, if the game is close and you bring on Brian White late, perhaps it can pay dividends as players get a little bit leggy. We should also mention, based on the away goals rule, that the Vancouver Whitecaps have to score tonight. They have to win. A high-scoring draw would do tonight as well. The other eye-catching factor heading into this one as well, not just White out of the starting 11, it's a change of formation. Things have been going so well for Sorensen's side, yet he's switching things up tonight, which on surface level might be a little bit strange, but if you dig in a little bit deeper, perhaps there's a better explanation.
Yeah, it makes sense because of the way Monterey played, and I think he referred to them as not so disciplined, as wingers don't really track back all the time, and there's players that almost cheat just looking to go on the offensive. So kind of having 5 in the back, then maybe you only press 1 up, you still have that safety of 4 and 1 to protect. So it makes sense. Again, leads to my initial point, rope-a-dope. Like, just stay in the match a little bit, frustrate Monterey that they know they have to make something of this match, and then you can maybe punch them later on in the match.
There'll be a lot of defending to do. Also, with that formation, you're able to defend wide areas as well.
Yes, good point.
I wonder if that allows for Pedro Vite to have a little bit more space to take advantage of his play. I think he's been exceptional to start the season, and maybe he plays more of a Ryan Gauld type role for this team.
Yeah, I'm picking up what you're laying down for sure. Obviously, Ryan Gauld, there's no one that could do what he does, but in the words of Seb Berhalter, he said, Vite is just so calm. I can give him the ball in any situation. He doesn't seem like he's going to lose it. They need a player like that on grass for the second time this season to go and just make something happen, to be creative, to be that spark, to put quality crosses into the box. I think Vite, the way that he started the season, the way that he's finding pockets and going forward, he's the guy that can make a difference tonight.
No Laborda in the starting 11, another player who's got off to a really good start to the season. But Bilal Habouni from London, Ontario, he gets a start tonight. A towering finish on a Ryan Gauld set piece. Really is giving the Whitecaps everything to play for here tonight. This is going to be his 9th appearance for the Whitecaps in his 2nd start of the season in all competition. What did you like about the way that Habouni played last week?
I loved how composed he was on the ball, and I think this favors him as well. Look at this towering header, though. This is what you do. Get across someone, making sure that you make that difference. But it was really just him playing the ball at the back wheels. I think, too, when you have 3 center backs, you need someone to almost take a risk going forward, to make those passes, splitting the channels, playing wide, maybe even crossing the ball at times. But his footwork and the way that he plays, and it shows, you mentioned it last week, that he's had a career in the midfield and now dropped to the back. The thing when you're a midfielder that plays as a defender now, you go from having good feet as a center back to exceptional feet. Know where to play passes, know where to find the pockets, and he did that last week exceptionally.
Let's see if he can get a run of fixtures here where he can build from this. Like, injury derailed his time in Germany, came over. Playing time has been few and far between, but he looks like a player that can be very useful, perhaps out of Utvik in terms of the pecking order. along the Vancouver Whitecaps back line. Going down and playing in Mexico in this competition, it's been a nightmare for Canadian clubs. The only win was Toronto FC in the 2018 final against Chivas de Guadalajara, where they won that game 2-1, but they lost in penalties to inevitably finish runners-up in that competition. So it's going to be a tall task tonight for the Whitecaps. Maybe a little bit of advantage. You're not playing in Monterrey's home stadium, but still, playing in Mexico has been a mess for Canadian clubs.
Playing in Mexico, I said it already, playing on grass for the second time this season, it's a different feel. Obviously, the game plan for Vancouver Whitecaps is to stay in it. This game shouldn't be done in the first half, but it could be with Monterey and all the talent that they have going forward, and that big man of Sergio Ramos playing in the back. So they have to stay the test of time and make sure that they just don't lose it in the first half.
Well, there's the headline right here is Monterrey's starting 11. Martin de Michelis is the manager, but Sergio Ramos for the first time is playing in the Concacaf Champions Cup.
Crazy.
He's played 3 games for Monterrey, the World Cup winner. The 37-year-old has already scored twice, both off set pieces. 7 changes to this Monterrey side. I mean, this is more like a first-team side rather than the side we saw last week. Berterame, 11 goals in the season. Canales, 12 goals. Ocampos, a former Monaco, Marseille, Sevilla player, top talent in wide areas. But Ramos really is the headline maker here. He's going to be a handful on set pieces. It's going to be very cool to see him play against a Canadian club tonight. What are you expecting from Sergio here?
There's just an aura about him. there is. We talked to Jesper Sørensen, and he was mentioning all the things about this match. And then it was asked about Sergio Ramos, and he could just go on. There's adjectives galore about this player and what he brings. His movement, the way that he knows how to pounce and time his runs in the box, and just the presence that he brings when he plays this game. Like, it's actually a joy to watch him, and the fact that he's playing in this competition and playing for Monterrey in Mexico. I think this is just a standout player and a generational talent.
Well, they'd be easing him in. He's a preferential contract where he has lots of say in how his life
it's a big one.
And how his game time is handled. But Monterrey need this. This is a competition as 5-time winners of it. They prioritize. But in the Clausura, another 1-1 draw on the weekend despite him scoring a goal. They're down in 9th place, 4-4-3. It seems like with Ramos, okay, the hype, it's now all playing out, but now they simply just need results and performances.
Yeah, that's the thing. But I think also, too, what the beauty of this competition as well is getting out of this round and going to the quarterfinals. That's where momentum can build. Of course, another side of looking at it is, yeah, you're using energy and your legs and players for another competition. But if you're doing well in this, that sometimes can bleed into the league as well.
Set pieces, ladies and gentlemen. We had a little bit of a look in the last round of this competition with Kendall Waston winning basically every aerial challenge.
He would rather it in the
different
air.
gravy. Yeah, yes. I mean, Ramos is actually playing center back and not center forward, but we'll see how it all plays out here tonight. It's Monterey, it's a Whitecaps, 1-1 on aggregate. Brian White not in the starting 11, but we put him to work this week. We're putting him in the spotlight next. Hear what White has to say about this emerging and very young Vancouver Whitecaps side. That's coming up next as we count down to kickoff in Torreon. It's a Concacaf Champions Cup on One Soccer.
Save up to 33% on select Walmart brand products. She nods in approval and places the tuna in her cart. This lady loves her tuna. She questions the ominous voice above her. Oh.
From nutritious feed to 7 times omega. Enjoy the goodness of Nature Egg Omega Plus eggs. A lot goes into a little at Burnbrae Farms.
This isn't your first time flying to show support for your team, but it is the first time you use the wrong kind of paint.
It says here you could try mayonnaise.
WestJet, where your story takes off.
Floats it in. Tristan Borges.
Concacaf Champions Cup.
Round of 16.
Es el clásico mexicano, Chivas América.
Mexico's biggest rivalry. Leo Messi. Siempre Messi. Liquid football.
Are you ready?
Welcome back. Trades in Major League Soccer, I mean, it's one of the quirks of MLS. Sometimes you can just get it right. The Vancouver Whitecaps traded for Brian White back in 2021 from the New York Red Bull for $500,000 in GAM.
Steal.
GAM, Jordan Wilson. All he's done is scored goals, 58 and 151 in all competitions for the Caps. He's emerged as a true star player in Vancouver. We got to catch up with Brian White in the sit-down presented by Visa.
I think professional sports is one of those things where when you get your chance, no matter how old you are or young you are, you have to take advantage of it. You have to do whatever you can to prove that you belong there. And if you're good enough, you're old enough kind of the situation. So, we have a lot of guys that have grown up, metaphorically with the club and have progressed and kind of put their careers on notice. And, it's great to see them develop and improve and help the team as they have. And I think we have a great group that's just looking forward to, every chance each individual may get, whenever it may be, to really help the team in any way they can. It's been a real blessing. I think it could have been easy to stay in New Jersey and just battle it out, try and be a starter there. But to get the opportunity, whether, I was ready for it or not, to come out to Vancouver and fight all over to prove myself as a player in the team and really earn that starting position, I think helped me mature a whole lot on and off the field. It's the first time I've been away from home, not living in New Jersey in my whole life, and it's been quite the experience, and it's been something me and my girlfriend have really enjoyed living out here. The team, the friends off the field, it's been a pleasure. Yeah, obviously, you think about it. It's always been a dream of every kid to play for their national team, especially in big competitions, to win a trophy. But at the end of the day, that decision is not necessarily up to me. Obviously, it's something that's up to the coaching staff, and all I can really do is do my best on the field for the Whitecaps to perform well, to make that decision for them tough. So, for me, it's about focusing on what I can do here, and whatever happens, down the line for the national team is what happens. It's not necessarily up to me.
Just a solid guy in Brian White, has become a leader with the Whitecaps. You heard him speaking about the young players who have come through. I really think he gets what the Whitecaps are all about. And sometimes that maturity off the field relays to success on the field. And Brian White's got a call up to the Concacaf Nations League semifinal. The United States are going to take on Panama next week, and Brian White's part of the mix. It might have caught some by surprise. Ricardo Pepi went out through injury, providing an opportunity for White, who ended up scoring his first international goal last January against Costa Rica. Well-deserved, isn't it? Because this is a player didn't have that European trajectory. He's worked hard, and he's worked to deserve everything that's come his way.
Absolutely, and I think people, when you look at Brian White and what he stands for, would say he overachieved. I mean, you look at his situation as well. Being consistent and making sure that you're available and ready to play and contribute to your squad is the reason why he's here and getting the call up today. And that is for young players at home. It's not sometimes about the glamour and the glitz. It's about just making sure that you're putting in that work day in and day out, and that's what comes of it. He couldn't predict that this is the time that would happen and it would blow up after he just signed a new deal. Yeah. He's the number 9 guy. But that's sometimes the universe how things work if you're prepared and you do your job.
I'm I'm thrilled for him.
For sure.
And there's competition for places in that U.S. side. And for him to be part of the mix shows what kind of form he's on right now.
Absolutely.
And Mauricio Pochettino, he's caught his eye. The Canadian side squad was announced on Wednesday. Daniel Jebison and Promise David are the newcomers to the Canadian side. There's a number of players in this Canada side, the squad, that aren't fully fit right now. That's quite clear. So maybe some surprises there. But Jesse Marsh said on Wednesday that this is the best squad that he's been able to put together, probably the best squad in Canada history. Do you agree with that sentiment?
I see what he's saying, and I would say that I do agree. But I think what he means is probably the most options, the most players that you can look at. Yeah, not everyone's fit. The MLS season as well is kicking off. But if you look at like the forwards that he has to choose from, the midfielders that could interchange, a solid back four that Canada has never had, and where they're playing as well and what they're doing. I could make the argument that this, on paper, is probably the best team that we've had.
I still think that they'll go as far as their star players take them.
Fair.
Like that back four, potentially of Davies, Bombito, Cornelius, Johnston, all in really good form. And you have two players up top. Never mind the newcomers coming in, but Jonathan David scored again in the Champions League despite Lille being knocked out. Goalkeeper error, but Jonathan David continues to put himself in positions to succeed alongside Kyle Larin, and he continues to produce for Canada as well.
Yeah, it's the team, and then you're looking at Promise David and Jefferson as well, like getting into the mix, and Jefferson being 21. And you're looking at, okay, an option, you can kind of say that Jonathan David and Kyle Larin are locks to play. But when Jesse Marsh looks over his shoulder on the bench and sees a 6'5" Promise David and a 6'3" Daniel Jefferson, who hasn't maybe fulfilled his potential, but has it. He has the juice. Like, whatever that is as a footballer, he has that. Now he's playing for Canada. I think that's what he's referring to when he says that you got such a good and strong team.
It might be a video coming out tomorrow countering. This might not be Canada's time.
I can't wait for it. I love
Is that bad to say?
No, buddy. I love your views, man.
Timing is everything.
Opinions.
We'll see. Canada against Mexico on March 20th. It's the main course. The appetizer is Brian White in the United States, taking on Panama. Don't take Panama lightly.
Good squad. You've said it for a while.
I'm not taking Mexico lightly.
Nope.
In this game either. So
tough test.
Anything can happen. You'll be able to watch it all play out right here on One Soccer. Before the Concacaf Nations League, it's a Concacaf Champions Cup. You want Vancouver to be in a position where White can come on and play a role here tonight. That's the goal.
Rope-a-dope.
That's it.
I've said it once, I'll say it again. That's the way to go.
What'd you call me? Dope? Really? Sergio Ramos ready for this, and so are we here on One Soccer.
Save up to 33% on select Walmart brand products. She nods in approval and places the tuna in her cart. This lady loves her tuna. She questions the ominous voice above her. Oh.
Degree 72-hour non-stop protection. Antiperspirant with motion sense. Tested to the limit. Degree keeps working when others stop.
Absolute beauty from Tristan Borges.
This ultimate mouth-watering moment is brought to you by the big, bold, ultimate taste of Ultimate Chicken Hot Dogs, only from Maple Lodge Farms.
A guy like this, who relies on his truck for work, knows that his truck will take care of him if he takes care of his truck. And WeatherTech has always been the ultimate protection. From floor liners to no-drill mud flaps to tech liner for your truck bed to bump step to the handy under-seat storage system. And Cup Phone keeps phones secure in any cup holder. Order your ultimate protection today at weathertech.ca.
This has been a very busy start to the season for the Vancouver Whitecaps. It beats my schedule of legs in the morning, arms in the afternoon. Their 7th match in 21 days On the weekend, I guess it's a short enough flight. They take on FC Dallas in Texas. But Matt, just a crazy to Costa Rica, to Canada. Yeah, it's been a wild start. So this is why Jesper Sorensen has been rotating aside. We're counting down to kickoff. It's 1-1 on aggregate. This is the second leg of the round of 16 tie between Monterey and Vancouver Whitecaps. You a big boxing guy?
A little bit, here and there.
Styles make fights.
Yeah.
I believe in that. Two different stylistic approaches are going to be at play here tonight between Monterey and the Vancouver Whitecaps. What are you seeing in terms of styles, and how can that play in the advantage, potentially, of the Whitecaps here?
I think this works out perfectly. Obviously, in an ideal world, they took care of business and scored more goals in the first leg. And I think when you look back on this holistically, they're going to say they should have had more. But there's still something in it for them tonight, Vancouver Whitecaps. All they have to do is make sure they survive and advance the first half. Don't give up anything silly. Don't lose the ball in front of goal and have Monterey score. Just allow it to be 0-0. If it's 0-0 at half, there's something that they could play for. But if it's 2-0 and you have to do an uphill battle and climb, they won't have the legs to do it. Because you just talked about it. There's only one team that's done more work than you do in the gym, and that's Vancouver Whitecaps. Yeah. 14,000 kilometers wheels. Everything's playing against them if they make this difficult. But they just have to calm the storm and hang on and try to take care of things down the stretch.
The thing that we actually, I feel like you think that the Whitecaps have a real chance here. That's saying something. No Gold, no Atakubi, no Nelson. They're still very much alive here.
I think there's belief in this team, right? I think they've shown it, right? With their start, with the heartbeat in the team, a Burr Halter that will never give up running. You have a White that's feeling good form coming off the bench. But players like Rios, this is not the time to not make those runs or second guess. We saw that too often in the first leg. This is the night to throw it all out there, because to make it to the quarterfinals and for me to knock out, I would say, one of the front runners in this tournament, this is huge for Vancouver Whitecaps and their club.
What's funny too, there's been a lot of praise for the way that the Whitecaps have gone out and played attacking football under Jesper Sorensen. They've been aggressive. But defensively, they've been very good. They're playing with Tate Johnson, a 19-year-old at left back.
Yeah.
Ocampo, a 21-year-old kid, limited experience with this team going forward. And they just look comfortable. The defensive shape has been very good.
And credit to Jesper Sorensen, because when you come in with an identity and make it very clear, have players to buy in, the buy-in sometimes takes time. But for him to be like that the first day and the buy-in is quick, that's the recipe for success.
I like the boxing analogy here. First few rounds, jab, jab. Don't need to do it all at once, but inevitably, boom, you got to throw that knockout punch. Whitecaps have to score tonight. They don't have to win. They need to score. High-scoring draw will do, as it's going to be a tall task. Monterey in a home away from home, but still in Mexico. It's still a tall task for the Vancouver Whitecaps. It's Jenkins and John Conway on the call. We'll be back in a half.
Concacaf Champions Cup on One Soccer is brought to you by WestJet.
This isn't your first time flying to show support for your team, but it is the first time you use the wrong kind of paint.
It says here you could try mayonnaise.
WestJet, where your story takes off.
Concacaf Champions Cup on One Soccer is brought to you by Volkswagen.
Are you having any fun? What you getting out of living? Who cares for what you've got if you're not having any fun? Are you having any laughs? Are you getting any loving? If other people do, why can't you have a little fun? And have a little fun.
From nutritious feed to 7 times omega, enjoy the goodness of Nature Egg Omega Plus eggs. A lot goes into a little at Burnbrae Farms.
Concacaf Champions